That's just it. And your 500th goal, it's quite the beauty going bar down on Alex Alda.
Yeah, beauty. Yeah. Well, it was barred. It actually was barred down because I did hit the partition, the metal partition that was in the glass, and Alex Auld actually knocked it into the net. So in actuality, I got the assist, and Alex got the goal, but I was the last shark that touched it. But the funny story was that the morning of, somebody asked me if I had an empty net, whether I'd scored my 500th goal into an empty net, and I said no. I literally said no. I don't want my 50th goal to be into an empty net. I never expected that my 50th goal would have been actually uglier than an empty net goal. So, but yeah.
You got a favorite sports movie?
A lot of good sports. I mean, if you're going with the hockey, everybody's got to love Slapshot, right? Yep. That's always a great movie. Youngblood was always a big fan. I was always a big fan of Youngblood. Back in the day, I had a couple friends that were in Youngblood. Steve Thomas, who I played with, was one of the characters in Youngblood. Caddyshack I'm a big fan of Caddyshack. How can you not love that? Miracle obviously was sports movie. That's what is it? Remember the Titans I was a big fan of Remember the Titans. So yeah, there's a lot of good sports movies out there. There's no question about it.
Go ahead.
Do you miss playing the game these days? Getting out there with the boys?
No, I don't miss it. I don't miss it at all. To tell you the truth, it's I played it as hard as I possibly can, and maybe as hard as anybody can play it for 21 years, and put my heart and soul into it. Had enormous amount of injuries, and I think I achieved pretty much everything I wanted to do, with the exception of winning a Stanley Cup. And I remember when I did retire, when I did make that actual statement to my GM, who was Doug Wilson at the time. I remember that it was like the biggest breath of fresh air that I've ever taken in my life. It's almost like the whole weight of the world was taken off me, and I didn't have a care in the world. I didn't have to worry about getting into shape. I didn't have to worry about scoring another goal. I didn't have to worry about the pressure of the fans, the media, living up to expectations, and I could decide what I wanted to do the rest of my life. And I never looked back. I mean, I love watching the game. I'm a big fan of the game. I think the players today are just insanely talented, but I don't miss the game at all. I don't miss the NHL at all. I don't miss the politics of NHL at all. I don't miss the way that they treat some people, the way that they run their ship, or kind of. But NHL has done a really good job over the last 30 years to make it one of the most powerful sports in the world, and I'm just proud that I was part of it, for sure.
What do you think when you see the kids doing the Michigan?
It's the creativeness and these abilities for these kids to try things in the game that we didn't even think of back then. When I say the game is great, the talent that is out there right now is so spectacular. It's at such a high level. Everybody's fast. Everybody can shoot the puck. Everybody's in great shape. Everybody takes care of themselves. It wasn't like that when I started. I mean, you do the Michigan goal back when I was playing. You get your ass kicked. You get beat up. You don't embarrass people like that. But it's a different mentality now. It's more accepted. It's more of an entertainment type thing.
So what do you think of Connor Bedard out here in Canada?
I think he's awesome. I think he's another generational player that's going to be just an amazing attraction in the National Hockey League. I mean, we see what Connor McDavid's doing. He's the best player ever to be put on two blades. I mean, he's the most talented player in the history, in my opinion, in the history of hockey. And he can do things on two blades that I'd never imagined possible. And I think Bedard is going to come in and might have those same expectations. It's going to be interesting. I mean, he just shredded the World Juniors, and that's a really good stepping stone and barometer for his draft year. Which is why I hope the Chicago Blackhawks get continue to lose, and they can get that first pick and be able to bring a guy like that, because that person alone can change a whole organization. Kind of like Taves and Kane did in 2005, 2006 with the Hawks when they were the worst team in the league. 5 years later, they ended up winning their first Stanley Cup in 40 years. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you guys got enough Stanley Cups. Vancouver needs to win one here, and we'd love to have Bedard when he pulls an Eric Lindros and decides to only play in Vancouver.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But I've always been I've always been a big Vancouver fan. I wasn't too happy when they let my buddy Travis Green go. I think he was one of the best. He was one of the best things that Vancouver has had in a long time. But it's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. Always going in, and my night at the Roxy was always a good night, and getting ready getting ready to go play in the old Forum back there, and it was pretty fun.
The one question I wanted to know was your favorite Vancouver related story, and then also, can you tell me when you were scratched that night? You said you went for dinner. What did you have for dinner?
I had a nice steak, man. The Keg. There's not many better places to get a steak than the Keg, and it was. I got scratched. I wasn't happy, and I was hungry. So no sense sitting around the rink and watching a hockey game. My ex roommate in Chicago, Mike Hudson, actually lived in Vancouver at the time, and I asked him if he was going to go to the game, and he kind of was questioning whether he was going to go. I said, let's just meet for dinner. And so I had a nice dinner with my ex roommate from Chicago, watched the game, and there was a guy that was at the bar that actually tweeted that I was watching the game at the bar at the restaurant, and I gave the Keg probably more publicity than they've ever gotten in the media after that. But they tried to suspend me and all that stuff, but I kind of gave it to brass and the people that they say it's the unwritten rule, and I said, go fuck yourself. If you're going to make a rule, make a rule, but you're not going to suspend me for an unwritten rule. Many people, and I said to Gretz, I said, how many unwritten rules you've broken, Gretz, and now you're going to tell me I can't go out to dinner? Go fuck yourselves.
Can't eat a steak, right?
Yeah. And Gretz knew. Gretz knew. Gretz is like, hey, listen, I don't have any problem with it, but the management and the league doesn't like the way it looks and all that stuff, and they're all about looks and image and all that stuff, and I really didn't care. I was pissed. I didn't play. If I'm not playing, who cares if I'm in the press box? If I'm in the press box, or if I'm sitting in a restaurant having a good dinner before I go home, So again, a lot like the National Hockey League, they make a big deal out of stupid things, and that was one of them.
What did it mean to you to represent your country and put the U.S. flag on them?
Well, obviously, you put the red, white, and blue on. It's amazing. Just like if you put the red and white on up in Canada. I mean, those are your colors. You're not playing for a city. You're playing for a nation, and to be associated with the best in your nation. I mean, just think of how many kids play hockey in America. Or it's just millions and millions and millions, and you're amongst the top 20. I mean, that's an honor. I took that very seriously, and to be in the 2002 gold medal game against Canada was probably my favorite moment ever as a hockey player, knowing that we are a superpower and we're playing against our arch rivals and the team that we hated but respected the most, right? And even though we lost, it was a hell of a fucking game.
Yep, that was the question. Was your favorite Olympic moment? So
perfect. Oh, for sure.